And we're back with another episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It's a snack pack, everyone. It's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for joining us right here at the Lakers Fast Break. Pop Culture Cosmos, where we cover the latest news and trends in pop culture each and every week, twice a week, wherever you get your podcasts. On our latest episode, Melinda and I talk about the Academy Award nominations and also Star Trek Section 31. And of course, it ends with us, the controversy there. Plus, TJ Johnson is on the back end of the show talking Nintendo Switch 2 as well. Go ahead and catch it. It's a great episode. It has some good conversations. Xbox already caught it. Go ahead and check it out today, wherever you get your podcast. Joe Soros here. Go ahead and check out what he is doing today with Sinblades. Sinblades with the Y.com, his awesome game that he's a part of as far as what's going on in the indie fighting scene with Corrupt, Coreupt, on Steam. And again, if you need a new lawn transformed into something much more magical today, Sinblades with the Y.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe today to get the latest notifications on when we go live on the air with the latest Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's a pun, JSJ, on the upcoming Lakers trip. The plans they make, the things that they're going ahead and targeting as far as the game plans that they're making. It's a pun on the Lakers travel plans indeed. So it's all about how they're going to do on the road trip. You have to visualize that as they're getting on the plane heading towards Golden State tomorrow. So yes, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. Don't forget all of our good friends, including the Lakerholics, who will be here tomorrow at high noon. Go ahead and support them as well at Lakerholics.com. But again, like, subscribe, share, do whatever you can to go ahead and get us going right here. For more people to go ahead and stop on by right here at the Lakers Fast Break Podcast. It is, of course, Gerald Glassford and Joe Sorrell. Truly want to thank you so much for joining us. Coming off the monumental victory this season for the Lakers against the Boston Celtics, they now head out on a 6-game road trip, starting with the Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry, and a primetime game, national television and all that, coming up on Saturday as the rivalry between LeBron and Curry is heated up again. So we'll go ahead and check that out. But what are the true plans for the Lakers? What can they go ahead and make sure they can take care of on the road? We talked a little bit about it last night, but we're here to go ahead and discuss more detail. Plus, I guess according to the back and forth I just saw, I guess the guys want to go ahead and have us discuss what the TNT crew talking about when it concerns one Jimmy Butler indeed. But we'll go ahead and first talk about the most important thing is the Los Angeles Lakers. And Joe, they're heading out on a 6-game road trip. And I said last night, if they come back with a 3-3 or a 2-4 record or 1-5 or even worse, 0-6, whatever they did last night will mean absolutely nothing, Joe.
Indeed. I don't know how they're going to react to yesterday's game, but they do have a fairly easy schedule according to who they're playing. And it's got to start tomorrow. You set the stage here by beating Golden State in their building, and then you almost have to win the next 3 games after that too. I'm not expecting them to beat New York in New York. I could see that as being a loss, but I think it's very important that they win these next 4 games. The Charlotte-Philadelphia game are going to be back-to-back, so I don't know if one of two will sit, whether it's LeBron or AD. But I think we're going to find out a little bit more about what this team is here the next probably week. I would say we didn't really get a good gauge on the homestand because the Fires killed a couple of the games. otherwise, we would probably be looking at it probably as a success because if you look at, let's say, if they played Charlotte, beat them, and beaten San Antonio the first time they were supposed to meet them, then they really would have only had maybe one bad loss during that that time, and that would have been the lone loss that they had against the lone home loss they had against San Antonio. That would
Mhm.
have them a what would be 6-2, 6 out of 8. That's a pretty good run, especially with it ending with them beating Boston. So the next 6 games are on the road. It's the Grammy trip, and the last one is in LA though. And I'd like to see if they can get a little bit of revenge on them over there. And then they'll be, they'll have a couple games at home against some favorable teams again: Golden State, Indiana, Utah. So yeah, there's a really good chance here that they can make some noise here on the road, and then before the deadline, uh, we'll probably know what they we'll definitely know what's up with them.
Doobie says, get Vando back and hopefully Dalton's shot back and his confidence back. I feel good, to be honest. I don't. Vando does not inspire me at all, especially coming back after a year's absence. I don't know what you realistically should expect for at least, like you talked about. I think you talked about a month to 2 month process. I think it's probably going to at least be 2 to 3 weeks before you can expect anything relatively encouraging from Vando. I think he's just going to go out there and, as we always say, big shout out to Sean, cardio bros, all that. But again, this is someone who is not good on the offensive end at all. His marquee is defense, and in doing so, if he goes out tomorrow and plays 10 to 15 minutes and gives you good hard defense against one of the wings on Golden State or on Curry, there you go. That's a good step in the right direction, Joe.
You have to win these games. You've been fortunate that you haven't had any. Again, this is a year and a half in where you haven't had any debilitating injuries on this team. You have another 39 games to go or so. Was it 39 games or 40? Yeah, 39.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
You have another 39 games, and you have about 2 weeks to see if Mr. Palinka can figure out a way to enhance this team so it can go on a run.
Mhm.
It's
Okay.
weird. It's weird. The way things are playing out in the West, because things are so bunched up, but it's always been bunched up. I don't know. I just don't know what to think at this point. I'm just kind of puzzled. I don't really know. We've said what we've said all year, but I don't know. I'm in the kind of like in purgatory with this. I don't know. I'm just letting it develop, but it will help if they can get back 4-2 in the next 6 games. They're trending in the right direction, and then that last game against LA in LA, the Clippers. That's the trade deadline. I'm sorry, that's 2 days before the trade deadline, and we're going to get a chance to see what happens between the 4th and the 6th. They play Golden State on the 6th at 7 p.m. Does a trade happen at noon that day? Does it supersede what goes on in that particular game? I'm kind of curious to see what that would be. But I believe this: if a player out there that could play center or could be, I don't think a third scorer would be available for a couple of second round picks. I'm looking at Washington right now. I'm kind of been staring at the Valanciunas right now. If he doesn't fetch a first round pick in the last hour or so of the deadline, do the Lakers? Does Washington send him to the Lakers? for.
They're going to send him somewhere, Joe, because remember, he's on a 3-year contract, and as a 35-year-old player,
Yeah,
they don't want to be stuck with him as he gets older because it's not going to get any fresher.
right. And who do the Lakers send over there to get him?
Let me see. What is his salary? I'll go ahead and
I
check
don't
that.
think this discussion in the interview by AD was an accident. I believe it was
No,
tactical.
as was what he said at the end of last season after the playoffs were over regarding Darvin Ham.
Yeah, but this one was a little louder. This was a little louder. This reminds me of the Dave Roberts articles coming out in August about him possibly managing his last year with the Dodgers before they went on their run. It's a little too tactical to me.
They wouldn't.
If I had to
Just let you
guess,
know, he's about 10. He's at 9.9, so he's right around 10 million. So the closest person would be Vanderbilt, but no one would want his contract. So Vincent, who has one last year on his contract, would that be something that
is that something
a
they
lot of
want,
people?
or do they just want to take draft capital and some expired contracts?
That's the thing. The only expiring contract that the Lakers have outside of the minimums is Jalen Hood Shafino. I think they could pack Jalen Hood Shafino. They could pack, was it Christian Wood? And they could pack, that's 6 right there.
Because you can't really
Uh,
give up Gabe at this point. The Lakers don't have a backup guard, and really, they don't really have a guard in general. Austin
yeah,
Reeves and LeBron play guard, and they're not really guards. Point guards,
that
I should
gets
say.
you that gets you to about 9.3. So that's just about half a million under the byline for Valanciunas, but the Lakers now have 3.5 million of space under the first tax apron that they're in, so they could go for that. Brogdon is just too expensive at 22.5 million for the final year on his contract, plus it's expiring, so Washington would probably like that. Marvin Bagley is like 12.5 million on his expiring. So I think that trying to get them would be a lot harder to go ahead and get. Yeah, you're going to have to play some cap gymnastics and maybe get a third team involved, but you're also going to have to facilitate a lot of draft picks their way as well. If you don't get a first for him, bundle some seconds. I think the Lakers can bundle at least 2. I don't know if they can bundle more that are like within a decent range. They probably can't bundle what I don't think they have any more 2s that they can move until the 2030s, but I'll check and see after the 2 that they have in this upcoming draft, Joe.
Something,
Robert Williams on those knees, my gosh, Doobie, man.
something. Although I saw him today go vertical, and his head was at the rim.
Yeah,
It's
so it's looking good.
pretty freakish.
But he was out the previous game. He sat out the previous game because that's their schedule for him right now.
This team needs a center. At least get a center for AD. If you can't get a perimeter player that can score a little bit, then put your assets as much as you can put together. Work around some way of getting this trade done that maybe we might not know. A loophole somewhere to make it work. Get him a center and see, and then go for it. There's no other way to go for it. I don't know what else to say other than that. I don't. I just don't know. But we're gonna know here in a couple weeks. If
Yeah.
he does nothing, I mean, I at that point I would fire him right there, really, because now you're really putting this team in a position where they're not gonna succeed. You're not putting it. You're not even giving it a chance at that point. And I don't want to hear about how there's nothing we could do. No, there is something you can do. If Presti can continue to get good players and he's stacked to the hill, then how the hell are you not? Figure it out. That's your job. If you can't perform your job, you need to go. AD needs a center at the very least. And if you give him a center, then you're probably going to have a player that's going to play much better in the stretch. And the team is a 5th seed. They're one spot away from being where we as the Laker fans need them to be. Now, the problem with that is they're 2 games behind there, and it's not insurmountable, but you are playing. You're behind Denver and Memphis and Houston. I don't see those guys losing too many games, so you're going to have to make sure you win the games that you want. You want to make sure your A guy is happy, and I don't think there's anything that's going to make him more happy than calling him on the 6 and say, "Hey, we got you a center." Yeah, I know Valanciunas isn't the best defender on the planet, but he's a talent that we don't have at that position. Anything right now in terms of someone who is viable and can actually do some things is an upgrade to what the Lakers have right now at the center position.
So we will see what happens again when the Lakers finish their road trip at the Intuit Dome in game number 6 of this road trip. They'll be on the verge of the trade deadline at that point in time. Nick T says rebound, shoot, pass, and occasionally block. No, he doesn't block shot. Nick, I told you this weeks ago. He doesn't occasionally block shots anymore. Do you see his numbers? Please, please, when you put these comments in there, please do your research. Please, please.
We are the research.
Yes, please do your research. He does not block shots anymore. He is at 0.2 when I first told you about that. I put it in the chat at the time. Come on, Nick. Please, please, please. Not enough playing time. There's a reason why. Because they want to be younger. Because they're tanking. Him and Bruce Brown are getting more time in recent games because they are showcasing both for a trade. Now he does have a 48% from behind the arc. That's obviously very attractive, but he's only playing about 15 minutes this year on average because they're going towards the youth movement because he's 33 years old, Joe. And then we're talking about Kelly Olynyk, Nick T's favorite trade candidate. And I wouldn't say it would be a bad if you could just get him for like a second. But if you're going to get more than that for a guy that's only averaging 15 minutes on a bad team, it is what it is.
The contracts is what we have to see on what goes out and what comes in. But the depth is already sensitive. Gabe Vincent is starting to play well. If you now get rid of him to replace him with somebody else, now you might be doing a lateral move. You still need that guard. You still need Gabe Vincent if he's going to play like this. If he was playing like garbage still, then that's a different story. But he's actually starting to play better. And we're going to find out here in 2 weeks if he continues to play better. A lot can happen in 2 weeks, I guess. We'll see. But the Lakers are in an area right now. It's like that. You're on the edge, and they can either save themselves off the edge or they can just sneeze and fall off. That's the predicament they're in. It would take LeBron and AD to play like they did in this last game, but at the same time, you had everyone hitting shots. And when those guys are hitting shots, that makes AD and LeBron's job very, very easy. They played 31 minutes yesterday and dominated. That right there, that game is the map. And they didn't play a scrub team either, struggling or not. That was not a scrub team. And no, they didn't have a really long road trip. And it's the last game of that road trip. They played in Golden State, which they blew everybody out there by 40. And then they played the night before an hour away in LA. No, that right there should be what JJ Redick puts on that bulletin board and says, what we did here needs to happen at least 90% of the time the rest of the year. You do this 90% of the time the rest of the year, because I'm not going to expect everyone to do it 100%. It's not realistic. You are likely going to put yourself in a position, at the very least, staying at the 5th. And maybe you'll get lucky and play the Clippers in the first round, and then you don't have to travel anywhere. You have to go to their arena, but you won't have to travel.
Mm-hmm. No, I was just going to agree with you on that. I don't think that they'll catch up to 4th place in the Western Conference. But if they come out of the 6-game road trip still in fifth, Joe, and they might have sliced a game or two between them and either Houston, Memphis, or Denver. That'll be a good sign. That will mean it was a good road trip, Joe. That I could really get into as far as saying, you know what, you had a good road trip if that's the case.
It is. When they get back from, when is the All-Star break? Is it between the 12th and the 19th, I think? So between the 12th and the 19th, they come back at home against Charlotte. I'm wondering if they're gonna schedule. Let's see here, Portland again, and then Denver. That's gonna be a big one on Saturday. Ugh, I hate Saturday games. They always lose those games against good teams, and they're playing in Denver.
Yep.
Okay, so let's say this: they're gonna get back from the All-Star break, and they have to make up that Charlotte game, which is the 19th. That's what it's set for. Then they play Portland on a back-to-back, and then they have a day off. They're playing 3 games in 4 nights. I wouldn't be surprised if AD and LeBron sat that Portland game on the second of the back-to-back. Don't be surprised if they do that. They give them an extra couple days for Denver. And then from February 25th through March 6th, I mean, that's a pretty good amount of time. Talking about 2 weeks, they're at home. That right there, I think really that stretch at home, if they can continue to play the way they're playing now until after that Denver game, if they steady at the 5 by February 22nd against Denver in Denver, whether they lose that game or not, that next 6 games, those next 2 weeks, that's going to be probably the decider on where they're going to be in the standings, I think. Because if they win, let's say 5 out of the 6 of those games, they're in really, really good shape. However, the next 4 games after that is going to be Boston at Boston, Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and Denver again on the road. So that could take them out as well. It's pretty a lot of heavy road, a lot of heavy long road schedule, and then a lot of home schedule. Not too much back-to-backs, it seems, this year. Back and forth.
Doobie, they won last night against the Sacramento Kings, and yeah, he didn't get 60, but he got 35, and he had a great triple-double game once again. So I don't know if that's the blueprint, is let him get a 35-point triple-double. I don't know if that's a good blueprint because Denver ended up scoring 132 points, Doobie. So I don't know how good of a blueprint that would be if you're the Lakers wanting them to do that. So, again, Denver's starting to feel it. They're starting to move up in the standings. And again, they have a 2-game lead over the Lakers right now in the Western Conference. Again, if the Lakers can narrow that or narrow the gap between them, Houston or Memphis, and when they come back from the Intuit Dome, I'll consider that a win, Joe. I'll consider that a win if they can stay in 5th and close that gap.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pulling at straws here at this point. I think it's very likely that this is just going to be the way it is the whole year. No one's going to really get
just
comfortable.
Yo-yo.
Yeah. Really, the only one right now that might be comfortable is Oklahoma City. Everyone else, a bad week could get them from 2. Like Houston can go from 2 to 4 quickly if they have a bad week. Because Denver right now is only a game and a half back. Memphis is even with them right now, but they have one more loss. So yeah, these standings. Look at it this way. So from the 5th seed where the Lakers are to where Phoenix is at 10 is only 3 losses difference. Everyone from 7 to 10 right now has 21 losses. Oh, and by the way, the 11th team, the Golden State Warriors, and the San Antonio Spurs have 22 losses. So I'm telling you, man, San Antonio, let's say San Antonio wins 5, 6 in a row. They could end up getting the 6th seed like within a week if the other teams fall out or play even. Uh, it's
I mean,
it's too much competition, man.
well,
Too
they're
much
coming back
competition.
from those successful games in Paris. They were struggling heading into that, but they actually did well in Paris on Thursday. So they're going to go ahead, I think, play one more in Paris before they head out of the country, Joe, against Indiana, and then we'll see what happens because they'll be back in the States on the 29th against the Clippers, and we'll see what happens there. But yeah, if they beat up on Indiana like they did in the last game, we'll see what happens. Wembanyama will be motivated to perform at a high level in front of his own home fans, Joe. So we'll see what happens with San Antonio. But yeah, uh, interesting that they had this. Yeah, a lot of people didn't know that they were overseas during the season, but we've seen what Jacksonville, what 2 home games a year now, seemingly that they have overseas. It's becoming more common for these sports leagues to go ahead out to Mexico City, UK, and beyond.
The Lakers are on pace to win 46 games, which is one less win than they had last year. However, last year and the year before, they made a run after the All-Star break. They had really good records towards the end. If that ends up being the case, again, it's very likely that the Lakers may win 50 games. But they do need reinforcements. Got to get reinforcements in 2 weeks. If they don't, it's just going to be more taxing for the guys. There's 40 games left, by the way. They've played 42 games. So we'll be here. We'll be here to gauge what's going on here. I don't. Everybody gets happy after a big win. I hate when people do that, especially in the middle of the season. But I know why they do it because it gets clicks.
Also dollars, so as well. So, but we'll see again what's going on with the Western Conference. Again, tomorrow is a pivotal game for the Lakers as they head into Golden State against the very up and down. I mean, they have had we talk about the Lakers yo-yoing and having an up and down season. I think even Golden State has surpassed that type of inconsistency that the Lakers have with their own inconsistency, Joe. When they started out in fact, they were leading the Western Conference for a brief period of time and were firmly in second for a little while longer and then fell off the map and now are at 22 and 22. I know that Legend 350, whenever I talked about, is clearly disappointed with his team when it comes to Golden State. But, at this point in time, Joe, it's going to be a primetime game. Curry gets up for that. The Golden State at home. We've seen where the Lakers also get up for that as well. These games in Golden State in prime time on national television are always fun to watch. You remember Christmas?
Yeah, Lakers, even when the Warriors were really good, always seemed to play them well. And they have to beat the Warriors. They can't lose any games to the Warriors. They're gonna lose to a bad team at some point. It's part of the gig. But you don't want to lose to the Warriors. You want to make sure that game is a W every time. 3 out of 4 a week is what I'm predict. What is what needs to happen, and they got to get better on the road. It'd be nice for them to catch up a little bit on the road. They're only 8-12 on the road. That's not good, especially considering they're probably going to start. Chances are they're going to start on the road again in the playoffs. They got to really figure that out. Role players tend to not play well on the road. That needs to change. Take what you did against Boston and expand it. Expand it into all games. And that's the key. It's as easy as that. Can you make those shots that you did against Boston, who has good perimeter defense? They're the champions. They're still playing well. You should be able to do that against Golden State. You should be able to do that against Charlotte and Washington and Philadelphia. That although Philadelphia at this point now, I don't know if Paul George is back and he's going to be playing well. You never know with that team. They're so back and forth. You just don't know.
Once again, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. It's a snack pack, everyone. Of course, it's Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching, listening. Truly appreciate it. I know that people are excited for what happened with LeBron James' son once again exploding in the G League. So everybody out there is going to say, see, we told you so. But I'll just say every time he bricks a shot like he did the other night, see, we told you so when it comes to Boston. So, yeah, I mean, again, that's nice that he's doing that well in the G League from time to time. But if he never finds a shot, it's going to be hard for him to succeed at any level consistently. But why not bring him up? Well, Doobie, he does come up every time. He's probably going to be in Golden State tomorrow, but I would not play him. He is not an NBA player at this point. Have you seen him? Even in garbage time, he looks absolutely awful, and as he will probably continue to look awful. And I don't want even Joe to get mad and start going off because it is what it is. But let him develop in the G League and see if he can become an NBA player at the back end of someone's roster. Maybe even the Lakers. We'll see. But Joe, getting back to the Lakers before we get to the discussion you wanted to talk about in regards to Jimmy Butler. The Lakers, again, we've seen them up and down all season. We've seen them have a momentum game where the fans are really starting to get behind them. It's starting to look like the window creaks a little bit open for them as far as their belief in the Lakers. And then they'll just go ahead and do some things that'll snap it shut. So your thoughts, again, I don't want to be too high as we go into this road trip. Again, I'm thinking 4-2 like you is a successful road trip. But what if they, go back to the means? What does that say about what the Lakers and what we think about them?
I'm not going to worry about it, honestly. I'm just not saying that, oh, well, what if they go down the tubes? That's not something that my brain is needing to really think about at this point. There's two things that has to happen here before February 6th. Lakers need to continue to play the way they've been playing here the last few games, and Rob Pelinka needs to bring reinforcements. These are the two things. You're already showing you're capable. You did it against a really bad team. You blew them out by 23, and then you went a few days later and you blew out essentially from beginning to end the champion team. There's no reason why these guys shouldn't be playing this well now the rest of the way. If they're not going to win every game, but the effort is obvious. If you're not putting in the effort, we're going to know. We're going to see it. If you're missing shots, yeah, it's frustrating, but at the same time, you can make up for it by what they were doing what they were doing on the defensive end. This was the best defense they had played all year. Their switches were crisp. The switches were clean. They weren't lagging on anything pretty much the entire game. And they made Boston pay for their mistakes. That's what good teams do. Not every team is going to play lights out. A lot of times it's about the teams that can capitalize on the other team's mistakes. Because that's the easy argument. Oh, well, they got lucky because they turned the ball over. No, you still have to capitalize on that. You still have to capitalize on that. To bring up a baseball moment, everyone remembers the fifth inning in the World Series in Game 5. Everyone's like, oh, the Yankees threw this game away. Yeah, you could probably say that. Except there's one little thing that happened before then that was on record. The scouting report said, put the ball in play, let them screw up. This was not an isolated situation. This had been an all year round issue, and it ended up biting them in the rear end. And guess what? The Dodgers still had to capitalize on their mistakes, and they did. This last game against Boston, remember those 4 free throw misses by Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum? They capitalized on that, and that was like the beginning of the end for them. So the Lakers need to have that kind of mindset. They need to understand we're going to play hard. Yeah, the shots might not go in, but we got to play defense the way we play defense, and we got to capitalize on the other team's mistakes. And you'll see less likely of bad play and losses in those situations. There's a difference between having an off night on offense. There's a difference. There's a difference when a team is on a long road trip and they're dead tired. You can see it. You have to put in, and I'm going to segue this because I wanted to use this, and it actually just happened to work out. The human element. The human element of this. You have to understand that too if you're a human being. And that'll segue into Mr. Shaquille O'Neal and his monstrosity of a dissection of this Jimmy Butler situation. The reason why I wanted to talk about this because it is Laker related to some degree, and I wanted to,
because it throws in there a little dash of Riley, a little dash of Kobe, a little dash of this and that, but it is Shaq through and through.
Well, we have discussed on the show for the regulars. You know how I feel about Shaq. I love Shaq, but Shaq is full of shit. When you heard Shaq say, "Oh, I did this for marketing," or "I did this," I made a mistake. Okay. I'm gonna dig deep into the psychology of this. When sometimes you'll see people apologize for things that they did wrong, but I believe a lot of times they apologize just to kind of get it off their back. They're not really sorry. Shaq has that habit. And if you didn't believe this, you saw it in that retort to the Jimmy Butler situation on the fact that Jimmy's being a malcontent. He's not honoring his contract because allegedly, he's not happy that he's not getting an extension. And what Shaq did was say that, well, you put the human element in there and he doesn't feel like he's wanted. Dude, he's 35 years old. You're not going to pay him $50 million in the next contract. It doesn't matter. Like, you got to kind of get realistic. And the argument between him, Chuck, and Kenny, and even to some degree Ernie was, dude, you still got to show up. You signed the contract. You got to honor the contract. If you're mad about what's happening on the extension, you still have to show up. And Shaq was defending him. And Shaq, and a lot of the comments online were Kobe smiling from heaven. I thought that was kind of a funny comment because Kobe got a lot of flack for what was going on back then, and too many people didn't realize the reason why Kobe was upset was because he wanted to kill everything in front of him, and Shaq would not kind of go on with him all the time. Like, Shaq would get comfortable a little bit more as he kept winning. And Kobe wanted to win 8 in a row. Kobe wanted to win 7 in a row. Kobe wanted 10 in a row. That was his mentality. And it wasn't reciprocated with Shaq. And Shaq has that selfishness. We talked about his comments about coaches. He's had a problem with every coach he's ever played for. I don't know too much about Phil. He didn't really have enough time to really. He couldn't really talk about Phil, really. But he had a problem with Pat Riley. He had a problem with Brian. Jeez, my brain went dead.
Brian Hill.
Brian Hill. Bob Hill. I think Bob Hill coached. No, he didn't coach him, but that was San Antonio. Sorry.
No, but who
Kurt
was
Rambis,
Brian
Del
Hill? Brian
Harris,
Hill was in Orlando.
Van Gundy. Like Shaq has always, and what what pissed me off is, he's never won anything. The coach. I was like, motherfucker, what did you win? You are the star. You win help him win. What does that even mean? Oh, he's never won anything. And that's the stuff that Shaq would do back in the day that would irritate the hell out of you. Today, his comments were just horrible, just terrible. It brought him out on who he really is when in those situations, and why Shaq really underachieved as an NBA player. That sounds like a crazy comment, but it's true, guys. Shaq should have won 7, 8 championships. He was that good, but he was too lazy. He was too lazy, and he thought in a lot of ways really, really dumb on things. Revolved around coaches, revolved around respect. Hey, you need to pay me this. Not realizing, dude, you got essentially a cap that won't let you have a team. If you want to collect $30 million at the time, you're not gonna be able to sustain the roster. And those are the things that the selfish players think about, right? It's a bad light for Shaq because he's been doing really well lately. But what Jimmy Butler's doing right now is a lot of the reasons why people don't like watching basketball.
And Shaq does a little bit of this for television purposes, Joe. You and I both
not
know
this one. This one was not a television thing. Shaq has done this for 30 years. When he gets into fights with Chuck about stuff, I'd say, yeah, he probably turns up the volume a little bit, but not this one, because this makes him look stupid, and Shaq's he's not gonna fake something to look stupid. He looked really stupid today, saying what he was saying. And we talked about this on our chat. We looked at all the stars the last 40 years. Which guys were bad for coaches? Kobe had issues with Phil. Michael Jordan, I never heard anything about having problems with coaches, but he had issues with management. But everybody's had problems with management at some point. Kobe had problems with management. Jordan had problems with management. Chuck had problems with management. It all predicated on winning, though. That's the thing is it's always going to be about, if it's about winning, I'm not going to ever fault anybody for wanting to win. LeBron never was able to really get an all-time great coach. I don't know if he ever would have had a chance. I know Spoelstra's going to probably go to the Hall of Fame, but I'm still not in the Spoelstra great coach category, unfortunately. I think he's a very good coach, but I don't know if putting great in there is ever going to happen, at least from my perspective. If you guys want to believe it was a fake thing, go ahead. But I don't think I don't think Shaq would have faked this to look stupid. I think he's going to regret saying what he said. That's the kind of guy Shaq is.
Once again, it is, of course, Joe Soro along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. And don't forget, tomorrow we have the Lakerholics crew, Lakerholics.com, coming on high noon. And then, of course, the game starts at 5:30. We'll have it up for you on playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break. And then don't forget the post-game show. Again, right there for you at, of course, Lakers Fast Break, wherever you get your podcasts. I disagree, Top. Disagree. It's Shaq. I've known Shaq for quite some time as well. And I know Shaq is always aware of the cameras and does know how to.
You think this was fake?
I didn't say all of it was fake. I'm not saying all of it's fake. I say
which one is real then?
I just think he came off. He knows exactly where he's at. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he knows exactly what he's saying.
You know he's doing what he's doing by looking like an asshole?
Again, he was saying what he was saying, and he likes to say things that gets things animated on that show. And I'll just say that.
I'm not talking about the animated part. I'm talking about the verbiage.
I'm talking about the verbiage. He knows what he can say that will get things talking on that studio show.
No.
Did I see it tough? Yeah, I saw it tough. Did
No,
you?
no, no. That
Well,
wasn't
okay.
fake. That
Again,
was Shaq.
I'm
That was
sorry.
Shaq. That was Shaq peeking out. That was Shaq
Okay.
2000s and
I'm allowed to
90s
my
peeking out.
opinion, and
Your opinion's
I'll just
wrong.
say that yours is too. So there you go.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No,
Yes,
no.
yes.
Shaq's done this for years. He just peeked out a little bit. He hadn't done it in a while.
I'm just gonna say I saw it, and I believe what I believe,
No,
and you
yeah,
guys
no.
are,
What you believe is terrible.
and what you believe is what is as well.
No,
Yes.
that wasn't fake. That was Shaq coming out, doing what Shaq
Okay.
does.
All right. Well, you say what you want to say. I'll say what I want to say.
Don't
So
ever
there you go.
disagree with me.
I'll disagree with you anytime I damn well want to, sir. Joe Gerald, Robert's back. On a scale from 1 to 10, how impressed are you with the Lakers' play so far and where they are in the standings at this point in the season?
6.
Well, the fifth, 6, 5. I think 5 for me. I think it's a slight improvement over what we said, but overall the record isn't that great when you look at it. They're just above 500. They have a very deeply flawed roster that needs tweaking, and they have absolutely zero chance in the playoffs as of right now, as to go far in the playoffs at their current roster and current makeup.
I wouldn't go to 3 to
So
4. 3 to 4 is kind of rough. I thought they would suck worse than they are now.
mhm. So did I.
So that's why it's a
So I
6.
said 5. I say it's a 5 for me.
No, we're not,
Okay.
Chris. We're not friends. We're colleagues.
Wow, that hurt.
I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
That hurt.
That's kidding. I'm
That
kidding.
see, I believe that, Joe. I believe that was not for entertainment. I believe that. I'm
Well, you'd be
hurt.
wrong. Again, stop being wrong. That's true.
That's the only time it would be if that's the case. All right. It is, of course, the
Every
Lakers
year's
fast.
different. Every year's different. They played the same way last year, but they couldn't get up above 8, right? This
Mhm.
year they're 5. Is the league worse? Not really. But the Lakers came out better.
Mm,
The Lakers came
uh,
out better this year. That's probably why.
well, but then Golden State came out even better than they did, and look at them. I don't know about that. I think there are teams that are right now. I mean, you look at Sacramento. I mean, you look at Minnesota. They're underperforming. Dallas is underperforming. I think those teams, if they get right, are better than the Lakers. The Clippers. Who knows about Kawhi? I know you and I don't have any confidence in Kawhi maintaining health, but if Kawhi, let's say, magically finds the fountain of youth and stays healthy, they are a formidable team, probably more so than the Lakers. Phoenix. Phoenix has started to put together some wins, Joe. They're 7-3 in their last 10. They're a team that I think that a lot of people were projecting that would have a better season than the Lakers. So I don't know. I mean, the Lakers, I think there should be feel very fortunate to be 5, but as we talked about, Joe, only 3 games separates Golden State from the Lakers. And if the Lakers lay an egg tomorrow, that lead gets even smaller.
They can't have a bad week. It could be catastrophic for them.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's kind of freaky how both LA teams are leading their division. I wish the NBA would do something about these divisions, making them mean more. But it's everybody has the same problem, it seems, except the top teams, which is Cleveland and Oklahoma City. Everyone else is battling. They've kind of separated themselves. Cleveland is up 6 games in the loss column against the second seed, and then Oklahoma City's up the same as well. Very likely that Oklahoma City and Cleveland will finish 1 in their respective conferences. And then whoever finishes 2 through whatever, 6 or 8, that's going to constantly be revolving back and forth, depending on who stays healthy, who hits a bad
Mhm.
week or two, who improves their team in the draft.
Mhm.
The NBA is starting to really show its parity, even in the standings now.
By the way, anybody who said Draymond Green has been suspended is incorrect. He has just been out with a left calf strain, just to let everyone know. So I don't know what his status is for tomorrow. I've only seen the injury report as I
He'll be
retweeted
back
out on
tomorrow. They
Lakers
always
Fast
come
Break.
back for the Lakers.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that I've retweeted out the Lakers injury report right there on Lakers Fast Break on Twitter. So you can see that. Maybe I could look up on Twitter if there's a Warriors injury report. So we'll see on that one. But yes, it's a left calf strain. He has not been suspended again. So
Well, hold on, JY. What are you saying? Who's Kieran Stuffins?
huh?
Kieran Stuffins talks about Shaq and her. I don't know who Kieran Stuffins is.
Talks about Shaq and her stories of a video vixen says not the diesel. I that's going down a road maybe I don't really want to follow, and I'll just let it
Well, he
leave it
doesn't
at
have a
that.
big dong.
Yeah, I again really don't want to know that information, nor do I care at this
So
point in
tell
time.
us more, JY.
Here we go. Lowest
See,
common denominator.
bring up more information. We'll talk about it. Joe and Gerald, if you pick the
I don't
three
want to talk
teams
about it.
would face in order to go to potential. Oh boy. Well, as of the, as as they sit here, they would play Denver if the playoffs started again. Oh boy, I have a feeling
All
they're going to
right.
play Denver in the first round.
So Joe and Gerald, if again from Robert Wheeler, if you could pick the three teams that the Lakers would face in order to go to potentially make a finals run, which they won't, using only the top 8 teams in the West currently, which three would you choose?
They're going to play Denver in the first round. It's just destined to it. I can see it. I can feel it. Denver will get the 3rd seed, let's say, and they'll get the 6th. If Denver goes up to the 2, they'll get the 7. Watch.
I'm gonna
Okay, let's
say
give them let's indulge them. Let's say the Lakers get the 5th seed and Denver gets up to the 2 seed and ends up playing the Rockets. Let's say the Rockets drop the 4. That's actually a good first round matchup. Young team, doesn't have a lot of experience other than Van Fleet. I could see the Lakers possibly getting a win there, even on the road, or starting the playoffs on the road. If Oklahoma City's at 1, Denver's at 2, Memphis is at 3, the next round would be Oklahoma playing the Lakers, and then Memphis would play. I'd say Memphis probably wins
Denver.
their series, and then Memphis plays Denver. So if I had to pick a path that I would prefer, let's say Houston, Oklahoma City, and then Denver in the Western Conference Finals, which is not a safe bet.
For me, it would be if the Lakers could move up to a top 3 seed and then face off against one of the lower ranked teams. I would start off with probably the Spurs because of the fact that they just either have some really old players or really young players not able to be able to go ahead and develop quite yet. So I'd say the Spurs because facing against Curry, we've seen it work for the Lakers before. But yeah, I'm not really too keen on that as far as trying to challenge him again because you never know what's going to happen in Curry in a 7-game series. Then after that, you probably have to say the Rockets, and then after that, the Grizzlies. Because I think, sorry, Xbox, I think the Lakers can still match up decently with the Grizzlies, especially without Dylan Brooks there in the Grizzlies. I think that they're still missing a piece in Memphis at this point in time, but I think the Lakers could match up favorably against the Grizzlies if that was their Western Conference Finals opponent, Joe. Sorry, Xbox. It's just how I feel. I know you love the Grizzlies. I know you love the Memphis Grizzlies, but yeah, I think they match up well with them still. Don't you all want Celtics Lakers finals? I just want the Lakers in the finals, Doobie. I want the Lakers in the finals. Let's get that part first. If the Celtics are there, great. But if the Lakers are there, that's what's really most important.
It's going to be too hard, guys. There's just not enough in the gap. There's just not enough talent on this team to get past Oklahoma City, Denver, and then could possibly be the Celtics in the finals. It may not be. Might be Cleveland. Who knows? We don't know. Parity has arrived. Parity has arrived to the NBA as it's the 70s again. The 70s have returned to the NBA where parity is in full-fledged mode, and you also have that disdain that the NBA had in the 70s. It was a different subject at the time. It was very drug-infused culture in the 70s. A lot of the players have always been selfish, but there was a little bit of a reprieve between the 80s, 90s, and the 2000s, and to some degree, maybe even the 2010s. But it started to kind of manifest itself. So what I mean by that is the 80s were the golden era of the NBA. Everyone loved the NBA. NBA had the two greatest players in the NBA enter the 80s and be the team player types. Before then, in the 70s were very selfish, very hard-headed type athletes. The Kareem Abdul-Jabbars, the Jerry Wests, I know the Knicks a little bit in 1970 and 1973 when they won their titles. They were more Red Holtzman team-oriented type thing, but those were few and far between. Everyone else was very selfish, very selfish league, very selfish players, just collecting checks and going home for a lot of them. Right now, you're starting to see that happen again, and the Jimmy Butler case is a good example of that.
Joe, Robert Weir says, Joe, there's no way you would pick Cleveland to beat a veteran, experienced seasoned team like the Lakers in the finals. How? Yeah, I would, because Cleveland has looked like
if
a
you need
better team all
reference,
season.
if you need reference, just look at the 2012 Oklahoma City team.
Cleveland's not a young team. Cleveland's an experienced team. What has Mitchell done? Mitchell's gone to several playoffs now. So has some of the
And they
other
can't
members.
guard Mitchell. That's a problem. They can't guard Mitchell. And they can't guard Allen.
Yeah, and Allen, let me put it this way. Allen has already had his moment where he choked, and he admitted that he got caught up in the lights in the playoffs before. I seriously doubt he's going to do that again. I don't think he'll have a career that's going to be a Harden-esque type career where you just simply can't get it done in the playoffs. I think that's a bad gamble. Cleveland does have the better overall team right now on the roster. So there is a way we would pick Cleveland over the Lakers right as of right now, unless the Lakers get substantially better as a team. And Joe, let me ask you this: when you look at the Western Conference standings, tell me of the teams that are in the 1 to 10 seeds right now, who has the worst road record as they head out on their road series?
The worst road record out of the top 10?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the Lakers.
It is the Lakers. So, Robert, they're going to have to start winning on the road. 8-12 is not going to cut it. Just
They did
like
it
the
last
Phoenix
year.
Suns.
They had a nice little run last year during
Near the end.
Near the end. This next road trip, they have to win all four of those.
Mm-hmm.
They have to win all four. The first four, at the very least, is and if they can beat New York, cool. If they can beat the Clippers in LA, cool. If they win the next 6 games on the road, let's just say they're now they flip that whole road issue. They go 14-12. They come back 14-12 in terms of their record, and they're sitting at 30-18 if they did that.
The Robert says the road record is deceiving. Man, you're just like you and Laker Tom. You know how Tom is always drinking that Coke? Because I know there's something in that Coke to make him such an optimist. Robert, you are drinking the same exact thing. Good for you, man. Good for you. But sometimes it get borders on delirium. And if you're saying that all the Lakers' losses are deceiving on the road, uh, come on, man. Come on. But all right. Xbox says, any thoughts on the All Star teams? Thank you so much for the super chat. Truly appreciate it, Xbox. West and East. I don't really, because I've told you at this point the All Star game is just something I'd rather miss at this point in time.
What used to be an awesome event has turned into a Jimmy Butler fiasco. The selfishness of these players that always have to be paid to do things. They can't do it out of pride. $50 million a year isn't enough for them. They have to get paid to do everything or they don't do anything. That's why the league is not popular, because there's no pride. There's no honor in honoring a league that's made these guys 15 generation wealthy type money. That is there hasn't been anyone that has said that out loud. No one. Not that they'd listen. I'm just saying there's not enough of those guys talking about it, because everybody succumbs to the crowd. All these issues, all these things that happen in the celebrity world. The reason why a lot of people don't talk is because they have a string attached. They want to be able to get into the clubs. They want to be able to get in with the crowd. They all want to be a part of the popular people. It's very, very celebrity in the real world is identical to the high school hierarchy, the preps, the stoners, the jocks, all that. And a lot of these guys won't put them on blast. Shaq being one, again, the selfishness of Jimmy Butler, not honoring his contract. If you don't want to get paid $50 million to play basketball for 2 more years, well, maybe you should retire. I think Kenny might have said that, or Charles might have said that. I couldn't tell when they were.
I thought that was the best line out of the whole thing, Joe.
And we've said that. We've said that. Yeah. If you can't do the job, retire. Well, Joe, he's getting triple doubles and this and still dropping 30 points. So what? What does that have to do with winning? If you're dropping triple doubles and you're hovering around 500, what the hell does that do for us? What are you going to go hang a December 18th game box score in your room? If you're a LeBron fan, or if you're a Jimmy Butler fan, if you're a Luka fan and that's all you care about, okay. But we're not. We're Laker fans. We support championships. When my teams win, that's when I buy gear. That's when I go, yeah, I want to put a little banner here on my desktop or put something on my Facebook profile pic. I'm not putting some stat from some box score on ESPN. Yeah. No. It's about winning. It's all that matters. Joe, Gerald, how can this team and coaches help AD get back on track offensively? Do exactly what he did in Boston and get him a damn center. Palooka. His new name is Palooka. Should just be Palooka.
Well, I'm going to look at his game log here for the past few games.
It wasn't really his game log. It was more of how he played. He made the shots. He made the chippies. And he made the 18-footers. And, of course, his defense was amazing.
It's not what he was doing at the start of the year, Joe, but still he's averaging in the past few games, he's still averaging 23.8 points a game at 8.8 rebounds per game in the past 8 games. So I mean, no, it's not where you want him to be because you want him to closer to that 27 to 30, but it's not that far off. A couple of those games were under 20 points, which really brings it down. But he has been shooting about 50% from the field,
Derek White
28%.
Derek White looked terrible yesterday, or was it just
Oh,
me?
yeah, absolutely. No, he looked terrible. Um, Holiday, even with a day's rest, looked terrible. I know people said he was hurt, but why play 25 minutes if he was that hurt? Horford on a day's rest looked awful. Porzingis was the only one with a day's rest that looked good and looked sharp. By the way, Anthony Davis is shooting 28% in the past 8 games from three, which only solidifies my uh, continued uh, march to say, you know what, stop shooting the damn threes, AD. Get inside, get easier buckets for yourself and your team. Once again, it is, of course, the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Soro, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. Truly appreciate it. Chris says, I guess I'm hoping for a more noticeable dominant impact on the game from AD. Am I right? Well, that also is the case. But if they do get him a center, it takes a little bit of pressure off of and a little bit of the workload off of AD. Yes, but don't expect those days where he's going to get you 35 and 30, 17, if that's the case, because then you're asking a center to come alongside of Joe and take a little bit of that up.
Depth in the up front. They don't have any depth threat really. Jackson Hayes is good in spurts, but yesterday showed even more how he can't really catch a lob with any kind of distraction. He can get the
His
alley oops
defensive
when he's
awareness
free,
is zero.
but if he has to set if he has to set up and actually kind of bang next to another player, he doesn't have the focus enough to get the ball with pressure and then dunk it back. He's scared to drop step dunk. You never see him pump fake or anything like that. He goes into shambles. I'm puzzled at that too. I mean, when you're scouting these players, wouldn't you run that drill? Wouldn't that be something you could notice pretty quickly in a game?
Mm-hmm.
Or did he play against other college kids and you didn't really know? It's an interesting that would be something I'd like to know.
Well, Ollie, Xbox would be happy at saying that. Josh Giddey to the Lakers. He didn't sign a contract yet extension with Chicago. I mean, that door is open. I know that Xbox would absolutely flip for that. So, doesn't help your perimeter defense, but he is a tremendous playmaker. His shooting is still suspect, as Xbox will have to admittedly tell you as well. But again, the fact that you would bring in such an outstanding playmaker would cure some ills for the Lakers. But again, why would Chicago make the trade and trade away someone as valuable in the league as Alex Caruso? Not even ask for a first round pick on top of it. That was what blew me away the most, Joe. It's not that they made the trade. It's the fact that they made the trade, and despite knowing that OKC has like 10 billion first round picks, they chose to Chicago chose to not even ask for anything, not even a second rounder, which just I don't think they asked for a second round either. Yeah, just absolutely blew me away why they didn't ask for a first among all that. Even a bad first by OKC.
Maybe they just wanted Josh Giddey. Maybe Presti told them they're not giving any capital. Giddey is a better player than Caruso overall, or at least will be. You got to see how that plays out. You can't just. The guy's got skills. He can play. You gotta let it develop.
Ali says should have tried to get back Caruso in the off season. Yeah, we should have.
Those days are
But
gone. Those days are
those
gone.
days are gone. And now that he signed that extension, I think he's going to be an OKC lifer, if that's the case, because I think that's the last contract he'll sign in his career. And what a way for, and I'm happy for him, Joe, because like Austin, he was that undrafted guy. He milled around in the G League for I think one season or more until he got to the Lakers system. And a lot of the credit has to go to him and his hard work to make himself what he made today as an integral part of OKC and a guy who is now on a steady contract for the next 4 years.
Sad. You develop a guy that was a free agent and somebody else benefits. It's unfortunate.
KCP has struggled most of the season on Orlando, but he signed, I think, a 3-year deal with them, if memory serves. So, but he has struggled so far. He's come back in recent days, although Orlando is just sliding off a cliff. Their early days as the number 3 team in the Eastern Conference are like Golden State. They mirror each other, although with Orlando's because they lost their top 2 scorers to almost the same type of injury too, which was totally weird. But yeah, they both have them now. Orlando has them back now, but they're still grounding into shape and they're losing a lot of games still in the meantime. Yeah, so yeah, great conversation tonight, Joe. Not sure if we were going to be able to get it through, but yeah, absolutely a pretty good talk as the Lakers are starting a 6-game road trip, my friend. Again, 4-2, staying at 5th spot in the Eastern Conference, and a closing, even a game. Even if they got a game closer to the top 4 seeds, I think that's a huge win. Absolutely huge win for the Lakers.
4-2 road trip would be a success.
Yeah, I agree.
So that would be the goal coming, looking at it from the outside. If I'm the Lakers, I would say I'm looking at possibly making up a lot of ground on the road. It's a very favorable schedule on the road, even. They're playing teams that are not very good, especially the first 4 games. And Philly, I don't know. They never win in Philly though, so I don't know. That might be the loss they might have to take. If Embiid and Paul George are playing well, that'll probably be a loss. And then they gotta hopefully return the
beat
favor.
Cleveland tonight.
Yeah. And then they gotta
Without
return.
Embiid.
I'd like to see if they could return the favor to the Clippers before the trade deadline. So if I had to pick, let's say they beat Golden State, they beat Charlotte, they lose to Philly, they beat Washington, they lose to New York, and they beat the Clippers in LA. That would be my record, wins and losses for that road trip.
Robert says, we love the questions, Robert. We love your optimism. Wish we could share it with you. But yes, we love the optimism. Keep it going. We do absolutely love your questions. Joe, what do you think about AD saying, paraphrasing, he and Braun are extremely motivated to win another chip to prove the bubble chip wasn't a fluke? I think this means Braun and AD won't be denied this year. If they were extremely motivated to win another chip, they would have never signed Bronny. They wouldn't have had so many spaces for dead weight on that roster. And LeBron would have taken a pay cut so they could have gotten a better free agent in the offseason. That's what you do to win chips when your window is closing out.
The German 3. Yeah. What people say and what they do usually are exclusive. It's important people learn this skill, because when you start thinking about angels and flowers and roses all the time, it masks your intelligence. You start thinking with your heart too much. Thinking with your heart, if you're in a little relationship, if it's something involving your children, family member, close friends, yeah, okay. There's a limit though, but I can get it at the beginning. I can get that. But this is not anything attached to you. This is a completely separate situation. What AD and LeBron say means nothing to me Anytime they talk about their goals and what they're going after, it means nothing because their actions never said it. Hardly say it. They've won before, and there's always going to be a discredit of something because that's what scumbags do. That's what losers do. Losers talk about winners. Winners think about winning. It doesn't matter what it is. If it's the Dodgers, if it's the Lakers, if it's the Kansas City Chiefs, everything and anything right now is everything. The Kansas City Chiefs are getting helped by the refs. Before then, it was the New England Patriots. Oh, the NFL wants the Patriots to win. Yet I'm sitting there looking at Roger Goodell coming at Tom Brady, his number one guy in the entire league, foaming at the mouth trying to get this guy suspended. But apparently he supports the Patriots, right? And the delusion that idiots out there will allow themselves to get to is nothing worth talking about, really. I can comment on it the way I am now, but I don't really think about it. I really don't. I don't really give a shit what losers think. Every excuse in the book. Well, they won because of this. Well, they won because it was shortened. Well, they won it was this. And well, they won because the flowers weren't blooming in the spring. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? They all played with the same rules. And it's not like they played 12 games that year. They played 73 games. They had practically 10 months to play a season. You ever played a season for 10 months? That was the hardest championship I ever saw. Still, the bubble. Okay, well, go bubble yourself up then. Stop watching them. The banner's still up there. What? You're going to take the Washington Redskins Super Bowl in 1982 during the strike? You're going to take the New York Giants title in 87? I actually got a Giants fan really good with that one. I was just waiting because New York, right? New York likes to, not all New York, but New York has some obnoxious people, like every fan base, but theirs is worse. Giants fan telling me about the Lakers not winning a championship, and I was just foaming at the mouth. I was waiting for him to shut the fuck up. And I'm like, how many games did they play in 1987? He didn't even know what the fuck I was talking about. Like, I want you to go check the schedule in the NFL the year your Giants won the Super Bowl. It's the equivalent of what that bubble championship was. 4 games in the NFL. At that time, you were playing 16 games. That's a quarter of the season. That was even more games lost than the actual games lost in the NBA. Now what? Oh, yeah, he quickly shut the fuck up. I'll tell you that. He didn't say anything after that. Know your shit and shut up. Or shut up. Not everything's perfect. Some of the 1999, they only played 50 games. 2012, they only played 66. So now what? Oh, LeBron didn't win the 2013 NBA because Ray Allen hit a last-second three. Idiots, it's a team sport. Of course, you need some luck sometimes. Steve Kerr hit shots. John Paxson hit shots for Jordan. Kobe had Derek Fisher. Kobe had Robert Horry. Kobe had Ron Artest put a shot back in at the last second. Yeah, Pau Gasol win a game in Game 6 against Oklahoma City with a tip in. Like, what exactly does this discussion create other than the obvious stupidity of a loser? Because I'm tired of hearing about the bubble championship. You want to not give it credit? Fine. But now you're going to get an answer of how your brain works. And it doesn't. Lakers won a championship in 2020. There's nothing you can do to take it away. Now, whether that means anything now by what Anthony Davis and LeBron James say means dick. The same way. I don't give a shit what you say. I want to watch what you do. And what you've done so far since the draft doesn't show that your focus is on winning, no matter how much you want to believe that. If your focus was on winning, you would have allowed the team to draft another player and maybe get lucky and get someone productive on there and sign your son as a free agent. You didn't have to draft him, but you wanted the novelty of the Laker drafting your son. The jerk off that whole situation was. And the fact that he's still able to get into the games is a travesty on itself. That guy does not belong anywhere near an NBA game. And he never will. I don't give a shit if he scores 80 points a game in G League. There are 99% of the guys in the G League never see the NBA. Never play in the NBA. They can never be productive in the NBA. So now what? What are we talking about winning? How about this? Shut the fuck up and win. I don't want to hear about how you got to prove some fluke. Prove what? You're Anthony Davis. You're LeBron James. You have nothing else to prove. So you have a bunch of assholes dogging you. Who gives a shit? Why do you give a shit? You guys have lives that the whole world dream about. Why are you worried about a couple of yahoos who probably sit and jerk off all day and don't do shit yapping about, oh, this isn't legitimate? Yeah, no. You all want to win? Win. We'll be here to watch. And believe me, you start winning. Hey, if you win these next 6 games on the road, you will see me pumping you up. I will pump those guys up. Winning, baby, winning. Vince Lombardi said it. Vince Lombardi said it best. It's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters is winning in sports. And in life, too. But that's subjective. What's winning?
Yeah, Sharon, I don't really want to evaluate the Celtics right now. Again, I've been talking to a lot of people in the recent weeks that cover the NBA, both on the show and off the air. And it's like the Lakers, like in those days where they just meandered, like in their three-peat days, where they just meandered through the regular season. I think also as well, you got to remember that well, Tatum didn't play very much in the Olympics, but Holiday and the guards.
I wouldn't say they meandered. Shaq.
Well, they kind of.
Shaq in 01 and 02 didn't play for 3 weeks.
They said they were bored. Shaq has said he was bored during those years at times.
I believe him. Yeah, but they that last 8 games in the regular season in 01 was pure domination.
Oh no, I'm not talking about. I mean, that's of course it shows for when they gear it up because they always felt they could turn it on anytime, Joe. So that's what I'm worried about with the Celtics, that they feel that same way, that they could turn it on at any point in time because they've reached the mountaintop before last season. I mean, they're just cruising right now. They've got second place already sewn up for all intents and purposes. They've got a 60-game. They're going to win 60 games, and people are going to think they're not as good as they were last season already. And that it just kind of worries me that they're just just laying in the weeds. They're just going through the motions. I mean, I really don't want to evaluate Boston based off of yesterday because it was coming off of a back-to-back overtime victory for them. Three of their players didn't play, but they didn't look good at all. Like I mentioned, outside of Porzingis. I just don't really want to evaluate Boston right now exactly, how well they are. I want to see, like you said, closer to the end of the season when they start to turn it up and how it looks from there. Ollie says, Gerald and Joe, what are your thoughts for the upcoming football games this weekend?
The closer we get to Sunday, the more the NFC Championship game starts to get even. Because I think Jalen Hurts is hurt. It would be freakish for Jaden Daniels wins a Super Bowl too. As a rookie, that's never happened. So the novelty of that's kind of interesting.
Did you? What are the odds on Henry making out of there alive as a fan who is going to be dressed up in Washington Commanders clothing?
Philly fans are Raider fans get the rap, but Philly fans are
Raiders fans. No, it's all homogenized now with the Raiders fans, Joe. Please. I went to 3 Raiders games this season. It is not anywhere near Pete Carroll aside right now. It is not anywhere near what the mythos has it to be with the Raiders.
And even when I went to Oakland and LA, I mean, LA it was worse in 1994. You could feel the LA ghetto-ness of it. The guys were smoking marijuana. I was with my mom and my sister and my dad watching those
The
games.
Dodgers bleachers, if you're an opposing fan, as I've told you from my experience on this show, it's not very pleasant for you. I'll leave it at that.
Dodgers bleachers.
Yeah, in Chavez Ravine
Yeah.
bleachers.
See, I don't have. I'm fortunate. I look the way I do. I don't really run into problems at games, unfortunately, or
Yeah,
fortunately.
I have seen Joe in the flesh. Yes, I can see that. He is.
So it's I'm probably not a good person to discuss. I walk around. I walk around the way I walk around, and I don't have a pleasant look on my face naturally. And I don't do eye contact with anyone unless I'm talking to them. So I always have that look that I'm not minding any, like I'm not gonna get into a situation where I'm dogging. Somebody might think I'm dogging them. Like that doesn't happen. And I'm very good at not bumping into things. When you're as wide as I am, it's very easy to bump into things. So it's become an instinct to maneuver very, very fluidly. And I have a soft walk too. Sometimes you don't really know where I am if I'm walking close to you. So, anyways, the I can't pick against Kansas City until they lose. However, the Philly Washington game has gotten me going back and forth. I was going to pick Philly at the beginning of the week. I picked Philly at the beginning of the week, but I don't I don't really know at this point. I don't know how healthy Jalen is. He got bent pretty well in the last game.
Yeah, he did.
And for him to be able to be effective, I know they could probably shoot him up with some cortisone so he doesn't feel the pain. But doing those tush pushes with a bad ankle, man, I don't know. That's going to be something we're going to have to see.
Do you think Barkley will run off for at least 100?
They're going to need to. Yeah, I think they're going to have to really play ball control and score touchdowns early, and then that'll make Washington press, and the pressure for a rookie quarterback to play in these moments, it's very difficult. Both Flacco and Big Ben, the last two that I can remember, played in a championship game as rookies. Flacco lost to the Steelers in the 2008-2009 AFC Championship game. That was the game where Troy put a sealer on it by intercepting him and taking it to the house, and then Big Ben got worked pretty good against the New England Patriots in the 2004-2005 AFC Championship game.
But I already know your thoughts on KC and Buffalo. You have said that KC is your pick until you see otherwise. I can't say I blame you. Buffalo, I think, has to jump out and do well early. Otherwise, it'll be all she wrote in KC.
I think it's going to be close, and Patrick Mahomes seems to win those games. However, if I had a pick, if you asked me, Joe, what is your preference? I would love a rematch of Super Bowl 26, and that's Bills Redskins. Well,
we'll see what happens.
I think that'd be kind of cool. I just think it would be cool. I talked about this, I think, on our last show, last football show, I think it was. I just think it'd be cool to have Buffalo, even though they're completely different teams and eras. I just think it'd be kind of cool if the Buffalo Bills won a Super Bowl by avenging one of the more vivid old Super Bowls that I can remember that Sunday. I remember that Sunday more. I was like the first Super Bowl that I remember very well, like beginning to end. Super Bowl 25, the Norwood miss. That one, we were in the car when we were listening to that game. We were on the way back from LA. I remember that, but I didn't really watch the game. And then 89, to some degree, I remember the Denver Niners Super Bowl where they got smoked. And then I don't really remember too much of the Cincinnati Super Bowl that the Montana had that comeback at the end. And then before then, the Giants and Redskins against Denver. Remember that? I remember the second quarter. I don't remember the second half. So yeah, it's just going to be. It would be kind of cool just to see Buffalo win seeing Buffalo win a Super Bowl would be just I'd be so happy for Buffalo. I really, really would. I really would. But you all know me, man. You all know me. I love greatness. And a three-peat would be cool. And I like Patrick Mahomes. I don't mind. I love Patrick Mahomes and I love Andy Reid. Those guys win Super Bowls as long as the Steelers are not there, right? Like as long as it's not the Steelers. I don't get tired. I wouldn't get tired of those guys winning. They're my kind of guys. I like how they are, and I'd be happy for them. And I'd be happy for Jalen Hurts too. I really like Jalen Hurts as well.
Yeah,
I just think he's just a good guy and a hell of a player. And there's really no one on with the last four teams that I wouldn't be happy to see win. I really wouldn't.
Any thoughts on Shano's team? The Raiders here in Vegas picking up new head coach, and Dallas, Danny's team, Brian Schottenheimer for Dallas, and also Pete Carroll coming back to the NFL before we head on out.
While we were scratching our heads about the Pete Carroll hire, the Schottenheimer news came out a few hours later. I'm just like, all of a sudden it didn't look too bad for the Raiders. Jerry Jones is such a freaking slapnut. All that money, all that brains, all that business for what? So that you can run a team into the ground year in and year out. Like, what's the point? If you can't do a job, just quit, dude. Put somebody else there. Just hilarious. For the opposing fan base, we should be thankful that Jerry Jones is running things over there because you'll always see Dallas stink. But looking at it from an objective standpoint, my God, what a disaster of a freaking owner this guy is. He really is horrible at his job. He really is. He's not the worst owner. There are worse owners in terms of winning or just operational. But he's just obnoxiously bad. Like, I feel sorry for you, bad. Feeling bad for someone worth $16 billion. You have all that stadium. You have all this stuff. Like, you can't. Like, what is the point? Really, what is the point? You really worried about a bunch of strangers saying, "Oh, this other guy helped you win." You really care about that stuff? All that money, all that brains for what? And you still are insecure and don't want to not have the credit? Well, you're getting the credit for sucking ass. Shouldn't that supersede at some point? Shouldn't getting another method of winning that will actually work, shouldn't that supersede what your feelings are? People just amaze me at how clueless they are. It's amazing.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is a snack pack. Truly appreciate you joining us for today. All the great comments that are out there. Cannot thank you enough for doing it as far as being with us tonight. Don't forget, tomorrow, we've got a lot going on for you tomorrow on this channel. of course, it is at high noon, the Lakerholic Spotlight with Jamie Sweet. I think you're getting Michael Heinrich and Laker Tom back after a week's absence there. So then, of course, playback.tv/Lakers Fast Break at 5:30 for the Lakers and the Warriors. And around 8 o'clock, of course, what we do right here at the Lakers Fast Break on the post-game show, indeed. So Xbox says, Joe, have you heard Tom's commentary?
Tom who?
Assuming he means Brady.
Oh, Tom Brady. I haven't heard anything though. What do you say?
Apparently he is bad.
Oh, you mean have I heard Tom Brady as an announcer?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not working right now. He's too structured. He needs to put a little more personality in the color. So you had the contrast between him and Romo. Romo was talking too much the first few years, and he finally started shutting the fuck up, and then his stuff got better. It's gonna take a while, guys. I mean, it's a hard job, believe it or not. You have to do a lot of prep work.
Well, on that note,
but I'm confused on what his job is here. How is he going to be a advisor or whatever the hell he is in Vegas? And this is another just Mark Davis is such a dinkus. Jesus, why would you want Tom Brady running your stuff when he's busy? The GM that picked the best rookie tight end I've ever seen gets fired. Why? Because he didn't pick a quarterback? Like, I don't know. It just these guys all, whether they inherit it, whether they buy it, whether they win, whether they lose, there's so many chumps just in charge of shit they have no business being in charge with. Just amazing how this world works. Only in America.
Well, only in America, indeed. But of course, it is Joe Soro, along with me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again, everybody, for stopping on by today, whether you're listening or watching. Truly appreciate it. Tomorrow, again, Saturday, is, of course, high noon. The Lakerholics crew at Lakerholics.com stopping by on YouTube. And then, of course, the Lakers and Warriors and the post game coming up starting at 5:30 thereafter. So, yeah, the Joe big 6-game road trip coming up. Any last thoughts before we head on out?
Win.
Win indeed. Again, like and subscribe. Don't forget, become a member today for $2.99. I just posted a brand new video for members only, or at least members first, before I post it on PCC. So go ahead and check that out if you're a member for just $2.99 a month. Go ahead and check out videos that come to you first, also as well articles that come to you first, and thoughts and shorts that will remain members only right there for you at the Lakers Fast Break. So for Joe Soro, it is me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks again for watching this. I truly appreciate you stopping by. Tomorrow's a big day. Start of the road trip. Will it be a road trip that will be something the Lakers can count on? We'll find out. It starts tomorrow against the Warriors right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast.